Research Sound Lab says, Dana, so all narcissists are control freaks in one way or another. Would you say we are all control wait, would you say all are control freak narcissists? Or definitely somewhere on the spectrum? I would say that they are all somewhere on the spectrum, some more so than others, but it's, it's that mentality of them, like me first, like it's a me first kind of mentality. And that manifests and kind of shows itself in a wide variety of ways. So on like a more, mild end of the spectrum, it's just going to be a blinding degree of like indifference to how their behavior impacts others. So if they feel like, you know what, I work 18 hours a day, I see no problem with that. But then like their children are neglected, right? Because they're never home. They don't care. To them, it's like, well, they're fine working 18 hours a day. Or, if like, it's just, just really, really selfish, like crazy selfish behavior. They don't necessarily mean for it to be hurtful or neglectful, but, on the more mild end, but it is because they don't, they don't take criticism well, and they do what they want to do. So you have that, and then you have like narcissists that are, that seek to get, that me first mentality is more of, it's more extreme. So then you have like your emotion, like your true like emotional. I think they're all emotional manipulators. It's really just to the degree. So even the ones that are, have this blinding degree of selfishness, they're still very manipulative because they still want to do what they want to do, right? And again, this goes back to like the cognitive dissonance thing, right? So if a person's going to do what they want to do, if my action is to work 18 hours a day or, whatever I'm doing, and if it's hurting my marriage or hurting my children, but I'm going to continue doing it, then I'm going to justify that somehow, shape or form, right? So I might say, well, I have to do this, or I'm doing this because you kids are getting on my nerves, or you're not a good enough spouse, or so they're gonna keep justifying their actions. And that's that's what, when we're talking about like gaslighting and all of these like emotional abuse and emotional manipulations and all of this stuff, that's really like an extreme form of cognitive dissonance, as far as I'm concerned. Sometimes I think it's real, but oftentimes I don't think that a lot of them intentionally go about thinking like I'm gonna gaslight them. It's that they want to do what they want to do and they don't care. So they just come up with these stories, these justifications that rattle us, right? That erode our reality. But in their mind, like truth and reality and these things are just an inconvenience if it means them having to suffer consequences. But they don't care. It's sort of like a little kid. Like a little kid, they're just going to lie. Not all little kids, but a lot of little kids, right? Like they will just lie and lie and lie. And the truth shifts, depending on what's going to work best, especially if they've got, two parents that they're trying to kind of pit against each other. Narcissists are very much the same way. So it's just, they just say whatever they need to say in order to get whatever they want to get. And granted, I do think that some of them are malicious and they enjoy that, kind of, just that power. They enjoy that power of like eroding somebody's sanity and their perception of reality. But I don't think, again, like that, it's on that spectrum. I don't think that all of them are like that. I think it's, some truly convince themselves of their lies, and they just believe they feel so justified because they have an excuse. They have an excuse for their behavior, so they feel justified in it. But like the reality is, any of us can come up with excuses, right? Like for like, why we were speeding down the highway or whatever. Like, doesn't make it okay. Like, we all have reasons for what we're doing. Just because a person has a reason for what they're doing doesn't mean that they're off the hook, right? So, but I think in the narcissist's brain, like, they don't get that. And that's why they feel so entitled. It's like, well, but this is why I did it. So, like, what's the problem? Like, you have the problem. I don't have the problem. Like, that's kind of their mentality. Like, they don't get, like, yeah, you can't do certain things, right? Like, it's just, they don't have a sense of like morality, because for them it's all about, they're so ego driven. It's all about themselves, that there is no real concept of, right or wrong. It's just kind of whatever they want. So, so maybe control freaks isn't necessarily the best way to put it. It's like different degrees of selfishness. And it's them getting their way. But yeah, more towards like the scarier, the more dangerous and destructive side of the spectrum. Yeah, that's when you really see a lot of that control freak, big time power and control issues come into play. You see a lot of stalking. You see physical abuse. Your death threats. Behavior that like most people would consider maybe like persistent, where they're not letting go. Right? They might have even moved on and gotten married, but they're still harassing or stalking or somehow bothering their ex, and not allowing like their ex to move on. So maybe even like threatening their ex's new partners. These kinds of things, because it's all about them.
Lots of love to you guys. You are not alone. You are not crazy, and you really can move forward and heal from this.